Hi fellow painters, welcome back to Mini Canvas Monday. Today we're painting Seagull on the beach. It's beginner friendly, but it has a wow factor. Don't be fooled, it's built from simple shapes and easy brush strokes and will create the beach waves and reflections step by step. So grab your paints and let's start with the background and you'll see how everything comes together at the end. I'm going to first just kind of give myself a little bit of background to work with. So I've got ultramarine blue and white. So I'm going to start with that, make a very pale blue color to start with up here at the top of my canvas. Coming in tight around the bird. Now this area here is still water, but now it's kind of, it's touching the sand. And I'm going to go ahead and continue with this light blue area. And we can put some sand in there later once we get our sand. So I have my sand. It's just white with some burnt umber, very little bit, and a very light color. So I'll start here and just kind of put that in there first. Same with here. Let it kind of fade up into the water, and we will, work a little more with that. And as I come down away from the water's edge, I'm going to lighten this up. So I'm just going to add some white to that mix. This is a shadow right here. I mixed some Dioxazine, purple, ultramarine, blue, burnt umber in a nice big pile, and I added a tiny bit of black to that. So this is a nice dark color, and I'm just going to kind of use this to start putting in some of this darkest color back here on his tail, and just kind of blocking that in. I need to look at my picture a little more. Got this feather coming down here. Oh, and I'm using a small 1/4 inch flat brush right now. And this will be just kind of putting in some shadow areas here. We'll cover it up with some other color in a little bit. Just want to give him some definition, and let's put, I want to make it, I need a gray color, so I'm just taking what was on my brush and I added some white to it, and I need a nice, like a medium gray tone, so I think that looks pretty good. Some of that on here, on his wing area, just using little strokes right now, just to kind of get a feel for where his feathers are going to be. And add a little more white to get a little lighter color up here where the sun's kind of hitting him a little more. And now I want even a lighter gray, so I used that gray that I had on my brush, and now I grabbed some white, and I'm just going to kind of mix an even lighter gray color here to use as some shadow underneath his beautiful white feathers. So I just want this to be a very pale, coming under his head here. He's got some shadow on him. And I think I'll go ahead and put some shadow down here underneath the bird, just using this gray for now, and I may come back in and change that color a little bit. So I've got some cad yellow and cad orange here, and a very fine liner brush. And his beak is mostly yellow, but there's a touch of orange in there, and I want to make sure that I get that in there too. So right now, the very tip is black. Okay, I'm going to go back and just grab yellow, kind of layer some yellow on here. And then the tip is black, so I'm just going to go in with black very carefully on the tip of this beak. Kind of points downward too. So let's go ahead and just put this black in this eye for now. That's good for now. There's a little teeny weeny nostril there that's barely visible. And I think that's good for now. Let me see about his tail. I think his tail needs a little more black in there, so since I have this brush, I'll go ahead and use this to put some more black in here. Just straight black this time. Can be a little more detailed about this with the smaller brush. Added a tiny speck of phthalo blue into this gray mixture. Wanted to make it a little more blue, and I'm going to come through here and just kind of work on these feathers a little more, just with that little bit of blue shade in there, and just kind of dabbing it here and there. I want to leave that black area alone because it might still be a little wet. And so I don't really want to touch that. Need a little more contrast here, so I went into my dark mixture and we'll put some more of that back in here. Okay, my 1/4 inch flat brush going straight into white right now. And I'm going to come through here and just put some pretty white feathers on our bird, our pretty seagull here. Just kind of follow his chest down a bit. Little strokes. Just imagine the feathers. It's a little darker down there under his belly. See how that gray kind of comes through, but you know that these feathers are all white. We can add more to that. I'm going to let that part dry. I'm going to come up on top of his head. Ooh, maybe I need a different brush, but we'll try this. I'm just going to use the very corner of this brush. Grab that liner. down in the tail, we've got a few little spots of a real light gray color. It's almost white. Could probably get away with just doing white. And let's see, there's one about right here. Doesn't have to be perfect. One there, one over here, a little bit on the end. This one's a little bit bigger. I need more of that light gray color. So let me get some water on that. It's kind of feathering down. I think that's a little too dark. There. Need that to be a little more wet, very inky, like ink. Just putting a few little fine, fluffy feathers down through here. I'm going to work a little more on this shading, the shaded area. Back to my 1/4 inch flat brush, I created a wash of this very pale gray by just adding a bunch of water to my brush, and now I'm just going to kind of go back over this area that I want to be more shaded, and I'm sure I'll come back with more white as I develop this. So this is just one of those things that the more you add to it, the more realistic it will look. So I'm coming in and adding some shadows, more shadows. And now I'm going to wipe that out, and I'm going to make a wash of just white. some of that gray under here for his belly, right under the belly where the shadows are. And more white paint, just paint again. All right, let's move on to some legs. And it's about the same color as the beak. And he's got some knobby knees, which is fun. All right, I think I'm going to use that liner brush because that's kind of skinny. All right, I've got the beak color here, but it's pretty much dry, so let me work on that a little bit. Adding some orange, some cad orange and cad yellow together, but it's more on the yellow side. Got a knobby knee right here. And now the other one's in a lot of shade, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this dark color that I mixed earlier and put it right in there with that orangey yellow that I made. And we'll do the other one like that. This one also has shade right along this back edge. So using that same color, go ahead and shade that part of his leg. And this is a lot brighter, so I'm going to clean that off a bit and go straight into the cad yellow and bring this out a little bit farther, I think. Now his eye has like a little brown ring. It's almost impossible to see, and it's kind of a light brown, so I'm going to just take some white and the burnt umber. Don't want it to be too light, but I do want you to be able to see it if you're looking very closely. So again, teeny tiny bit. Let me bring this up here. that in there like that. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'll zoom in and see if you can see that. I think I'm ready to work on more of the sand and water area, although we can just kind of leave it the way it is and feel happy about that we're focusing more on the bird. But I think I will put in a little bit of some more blue and whites in that water just to change it up a little bit. So I want to go back to my ultramarine blue and some white. So let me just mix that a little bit. I had it really light for the water, and so now I just need a little bit darker shade to throw in there here and there in the water. Just kind of play around with this, just kind of dab and dot and stroke, nothing exact here. So just that same mix, but I had some that I hadn't quite mixed thoroughly with the white, so it just is a little deeper. See, I've got this deeper and then I've got this lighter color. Let's get a little bit of some of this white here. Where it meets the sand here, we're going to add a little more of that sandy color. And so that was white and a little tiny bit, wrong color, a little tiny bit of burnt umber. And just kind of brushing kind of in a downward curvy motion with this color. Put some white foam. I've got just using the tip of my brush and kind of making some random marks and let it be 3D. You know, you don't have to make that paint smooth on your canvas. You can let it be built up a bit. Yeah, I like it. I'm going to put a little tiny bit of the sandy brown color underneath some of that foam. And so make sure that you've got some of that mixed up. We don't want it to be too dark. We want to be able to see a little bit of shadow under some of that foam, especially this that's up here close. So I'm just going to kind of go right underneath it just to show that that foam is sitting on top of the sand in places. I'm going right underneath some of those ridges. Just a thin, real thin line. Now I've got some just pure white again, and I just want to come in here and touch up some final details, put a little more pure white on there to kind of highlight that head. And right here on his chest, need some more white there. Just help it stand out. And I'm going to just take some, a wash. I'm going to make a wash of the sandy color, but I want it to be very light. So added some white to the sandy color, and then I'm going to put some water in that. We'll see how I like that. I don't know, I might need to lighten it up a little more, but I'm gonna just lightly brush some of this on here. And that's okay, I like it okay. Felt like it needed a little more color in there. Okay, Mini Canvas Monday, another success. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you painted along, and if you paint along later, let me know. Tell me what you think. Please leave a comment, that helps the algorithm, and I will see you next time for Mini Canvas Monday. Bye.